I need to do the same thing here because interest rate is not C1, it's C1 over frequency. Right? It is much higher because I'm technically using a much lower interest. Now, let's kind of do something. I'm going to build a table. The old days before computers were everywhere and financial calculators were not that available, people used tables for present value factors. It was basically a table of present value of $1 at a certain interest rate and at a certain number of periods. So I'm going to do a table. In fact, I'm going to do this as an Excel table. I'm going to insert table. The table will have headers. Come on. So now I put these. I'm not going to have a name on the first one. And it doesn't allow me to change it. Actually, let's do it the old-fashioned way. I'm going to do anything from 1%, 2%. Let me digits. Again, if I want to write other ones, drag it, it automatically calculates it. I'm going to do it up to 9. I could do more, but I'm not going to. My periods, let's just do this an annual factor. I'm going to do it up to 25. So I'm going to have a table that I can look up, figure out present value of $1, 9 years from now, if the interest rate is 5%. Obviously, we can calculate that directly, but I'm doing this to kind of show you how to use halfway between absolute reference. Fixing only the raw versus fixing only the top. Okay, if I'm going to calculate value of $1 1 year from now at 1%, 1 divided by 1 plus my interest rate raised to the power that, okay? Or let's do it value of $100, just for the sake of ease on our eyes. So at 1%, $100 1 year from now is equal to $99.01. And as you know, we're civilized people. I'm not going to make this calculation. In fact, let me shift one more so I can have 10% here too. 10 times 25, 250. I'm not going to make all of that. Of course, in this case, I'm referring to the correct places. If I simply drag this all the way here, it's kind of doing something that I don't want. Let's look at it here. It's referring to the correct interest rate because I'm shifting the columns, but it is not referring to the correct number of periods. I don't want to shift that. Well, one way to do that is fix that. All right. Fixing only the reference to number of periods. So that solved my problem. So if I wanted to know how much $100 is worth 1 year from now at 10% interest rate, I can just look it up from the table. That's $90.91. But if I take this, copy it here, it's not referring to the right place either. There's no problem with respect to interest rate. With respect to interest rate, let's see. Actually, this doesn't get the interest rate right either. So I could fix the interest rate period part, but I cannot fix the interest rate. So what we're going to do instead, let's undo these. When I shift it to the right, I want the column references on the exponent, the G4, to be fixed, but not the row. So I'm going to put a dollar sign in front of G. That means when I copy that formula, and when I go to the right or bottom, doesn't matter, it will always refer to G, which is where my periods live. As you can see, it's doing it correctly. The trouble is when I'm going down, I don't want the reference to the interest rate to change either. The interest rate is right here, but when I go down, I want the formula still refer to row 3, but when I go to the right, I want that interest rate to change as well. So I'm going to fix only the row reference. So that's H dollar. That means when the formula is copied, do not change the row reference of the interest rate and do not change the column reference of the periods. In fact, I can take this and double click, do it all. So let's randomly pick one of them. It refers exactly to the right places. I want interest rate to be 4% and number of years to be 7%. Same deal here. You can calculate all of these whenever we need it, but if you ever needed a table and you wanted to calculate it quickly, this is a two-sided table. And clever use of partial absolute reference. Either the row or the column references are absolute, but the others are not. You're home. I could have done the following. Instead of $100, I can make that formulate. But this time that value is going to be the same, so it's a full absolute reference. Drag to the right. Now, if I wanted to know a value of $258, 6 years from now at 7% interest rate, that's where it is. It has full absolute reference, partial, absolute column, and partial or relative, absolute column, relative row, or absolute row, relative column. In a lot of cases, you need to be careful about those. When in doubt, always double click on the cell. And if it's in the visible range, it will show you exactly where the formula is referencing to. If your visible range is not large enough, you can maybe zoom out. So